Well, hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Early Childhood Chats, the podcast. Andy Roszak with you as always. And today we're diving into something that every early childhood leader really feels in real time, and that's how we actually run strong programs when the day-to-day is just nonstop. There's so many competing interests out there between staffing challenges and enrollment pressure and family communication, compliance, on and on and on. Everything just keeps moving. And how do you stay connected? How do you stay on top of all this without burning out? We're going to talk about it today, and I'm really excited to bring on two experts. I've got Meghan and Harrison joining me today from the good folks over at Family, and they're going to talk about how programs are facing these challenges, navigating transitions and operational challenges every single day through some of the great products that they're offering. Meghan and I have known each other for, probably 10 years or so now, I guess.
I think that's right.
It's crazy. And she brings a really unique lens. She spent about a decade working in early childhood policy, quality improvement, all sorts of great stuff, and now has moved into this exciting tech space. So she understands, look, the regulatory side, the day-to-day challenges, the quality side. She's really lived it and works hand in hand with directors that are trying to keep everything together. So really excited to talk to Meghan and super excited to talk to Harrison as well. Harrison's got a real quality focused background as well as customer service and support, and of course the tech side as well. So, Family is one of those platforms that more and more programs are turning to just to try to simplify operations, to strengthen family communication and relationships, and really reduce that feeling of isolation that so many directors talk about. So we're really excited to dive into all this. And just to level set here, look, this is not a sales pitch. We're not doing a sponsored pitch or anything. We want to talk about what's working. We want to talk about what's not working. We want to talk about what support early childhood programs really do need right now, and how technology can sometimes play a role in that process. And quite frankly, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So technology can really help us remove stress, but if we choose the wrong technology or don't fully understand it or don't implement it in a wise way, it can add to our stress too. So with all that being said, Meghan, welcome to the podcast. Harrison, welcome to the podcast. Do you want to say hi to everybody and maybe introduce yourself? I know I didn't really give your background justice there. So Meghan, I'll start with you and we'll throw it over to Harrison when you're done saying hi to folks.
Oh, I am so happy to be here, Andy. Thanks for having me. And yeah, like you said, I've been in the early childhood space for about 10 years, but I like to tell people that my true origin story was that I come from a background with a theater major and a communications major. And I left school thinking that I was going to be in the entertainment industry, and I did that for a short period of time. So I worked in e-commerce in the entertainment space, and we had clients like Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber and the Beatles, which was a lot of fun and exciting. And I was like, this does not feel like it for me at the end of the day. And I found a job for a company that does quality assessment in childcare programs where I was living at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like something that I want to be doing more of in my life, because I tangentially all around me have been surrounded by childcare experts. My mom was a preschool teacher. My mother-in-law is a childcare teacher. I have 18 now nieces and nephews, and I've nannied for a period of time. So I have not been in the classroom, but falling into this sector was like, this is the right space for me. And I can use those skills from capturing everybody's attention that I learned when working with the folks at Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber. And I could use that for educators, right? And so I've spent a good portion of my career trying to advocate for more funding, for better training opportunities for childcare providers, for more accessible childcare for families all across the US. And yeah, I've been excited to take this role at Family over the last year, because it just feels like all of my background has led me to this role where I can work in a company that really makes it easier for educators to do their job. And I can talk more about that in a bit, but I don't want to give anything away. I'll let Harrison jump in and introduce himself too.
I love this format, Andy, because I'm learning things about my colleague, which is really, I'm teaching more about this Beatles connection.
Yeah. So we did a photo shoot with them. It was so much fun. Not with the Beatles. They're, rest in peace. Most of them gone. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah. Questions for after this. But yeah, it sounds like Meghan and I have interestingly similar paths, again, that I wasn't aware of. And I was an English lit creative writing major, love just people and relationships and human psychology and how people connect with one another. And that had me be a liberal arts major, but then also was a musician, very actively gigging in my 20s and, trying to, I guess, experience that human connection in that very real way on stage with an audience. So it's a shame we didn't link up 15 or so years ago, Meghan. Maybe
right?
Out in that career. But I wound up in the world of technology, mostly education technology, and have accrued now something about 15 years experience leading partnership teams and, customer support teams and kind of expanding the presence of new technologies into new markets. And that's been really exciting. Again, I've got to lean on my interest in communication and building relationships with that. I'm really grateful to have Meghan as my partner in crime here at Family because early childhood education is new to me. This is my first time in early childhood. Most of my experiences has been in K-12 and higher ed. But again, extensive experience in technology. So I guess our backgrounds kind of complement one another in that way. But I became a dad a little over 2 years ago. And my little one started school at the age of 1. And I really rapidly saw how incredibly important the role of early childhood educators was in, the 0 through 5 age set. And now I've looked at all the data that talks about brain development and social development and things of that nature. And I've become just really passionate about it. And the more I learn, the more passionate I become. So that's a little bit about me. And I've been with Family now for about a year. And I think I finally get it. I think I get how early childhood education is all about and how technology can help. So you timed my interview correctly.
Well, super. I mean, congrats on being a new dad. That's always exciting. Hopefully you're getting a little bit of sleep.
Oh, she's a great sleeper. Yeah, we're really lucky in that respect.
Oh, that's good.
I'm so
Always
jealous. My son didn't sleep for like the first 2 years.
Yeah, I'm finally out of that. With the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old, finally out of that. But boy, those days are not fun. Only getting 2 or 3 hours a night, right?
It's rough for everybody.
So, Meghan, I'll start with you. I'll put you in the hot seat here for a minute, if you don't mind. I'm curious. Family has got a pretty robust background in other parts of the world too, and here they are in the United States now, which we'll talk about kind of what their mission is and where they're from and all that kind of great stuff. But I'm running at the real basic level. When you first joined Family, what were you kind of thinking? Like, what makes Family different? What gaps are existing here? What tools are we giving directors that just aren't cutting it? And how is Family kind of filling some of those gaps? And what really kind of pushed you towards joining the family, if you will?
I love that question. I joined because, I was excited about coming to a company that is based in another country. I spent time at Teachstone and Childcare Aware of America before coming on board. And so I felt like I knew the US very well. And I was kind of excited about coming to work in a tech company that was newer to the US because I feel like I could tell you about QRIS and Head Start and NCCA and CDA and all the acronyms here. And at the same time, this company, Family was founded in Copenhagen, Denmark in 2013 and grew very rapidly. They're like the largest childcare software in the UK, growing very rapidly in Germany and a few of the other Scandinavian countries. And though they came over to the US about 2 or 3 years ago, I think they were realizing, the US is maybe a little bit different in terms of our childcare system. And I can every time I tell people this, I see the chuckles of we're complicated here in the US. And so I've been excited about this role because I feel like I have a nice opportunity to learn from my European colleagues of what different childcare systems look like and how they can operate so differently than what we're used to here in the US. One difference being that most children over in the UK and in Denmark and Norway, for example, they don't go to childcare until they're like 1, maybe even 2 years old. Whereas in the US, like my son went and entered his first day of school when he was 12 weeks old. And I think that's probably more of the standard of what people are seeing here in the US. So a lot of my role that I was excited about was just like sharing with my colleagues in Europe, here's what makes the US a little bit different, and here's how we can evolve our product to fit the US landscape. I think one of the biggest differentiators between Family and some of the other childcare software programs out there, kind of twofold. I think one is that in Europe, there are so many different programs that are supporting families, and very specifically like young families with children. They have a lot of different social net programs over there to allow working moms or to allow parents to have longer maternity leave. And so some of those same fundamentals about believing in a family and supporting all of the adults in a child's life really comes through in the platform itself. There's a lot of communication features, parent engagement features built into the app that I was like, yes, like this feels like this really resonates with me as someone who just believes in the value of early ed. And also live translation features coming in Europe. There's so many different diverse languages as there are in the US. So Family has built it in to make all of the messaging features available in over 130 languages. So everybody can communicate seamlessly. And then I would say the other piece that I really appreciated about Family compared to some of the other software and tools that I've personally used here in the US is that it's just very easy and intuitive to use. I almost think of it as like, I think Harrison maybe coined this term, but like the IKEA of childcare software. And like, you look at it, you know exactly what it is and how to use it inherently. Like, it's just an easy platform, just like building one of your IKEA Fluptor desks or whatever exactly they're called. And so I think like both this like parent communication, all of the tools that are intentionally built to bring everybody together, and making it easier for educators and directors and owners and parents to use that app, like all come together. And I think that's just been really valuable. And it's just been, for me, providing some feedback to tweak it a little bit to make it more US Americanified.
Well, it's got to be challenging, and I would suspect, Harrison, you probably get involved in some of these discussions because you're really designing this really for two different audiences, right? I mean, the parents just want something easy, right? It's like, oh, another app I got to download, another login I got to remember, another blah, 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 another thing sending me push notifications at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, the streamlined, the simple, the how do I use this thing? How do I remember to log in? Certainly front of mind as, you know, parents. But then like on the back end as a director, as an owner, well, that robust set of features, right? The data, the reporting, all that other stuff that's built in, really totally different use cases. And I'm sure you probably think about that a lot when you're designing and rolling out new designs and UX and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I would say there's a third audience of stakeholders that you didn't mention that we think about just as much, which are the teachers in the classroom as well. And I would actually say that one of the things that makes Family unique from some of the other systems out there is, you know, and we've seen them all, and we really do focus on that end user experience first. And I know we're going to get into this, Andy, but like when we think about those existential concerns of like attracting and retaining excellent staff, right? And of course, delighting your parents, because those are your paying customers. These are the key stakeholders that really ensure a childcare center business is going to grow and be profitable. And, you know, when business is good, it tends to mean better outcomes for the kids in the classroom, right? A thriving center, ultimately the winners are the kids. So we really focus first, I would say, on that end user experience of the teacher in the classroom. How can we make it intuitive and as quick and simple as possible for them to get into the solution, do what they need to do, log the observation, log the activity, log the nap, send the message to the family, send the photo, whatever the center's process is. And we don't insist on any specific way of using the platform, but we know different centers have different processes and we want to be flexible and most importantly, quick and easy. Yeah. but also something that empowers the teacher, right? So that they feel like, yeah, I'm valued, I'm integral to this operation. The parents can see that, my director sees that, that feels good. I'm happy working here. I feel good working here compared to maybe some other centers where I feel a little left out of the equation. And then, yes, you're absolutely right. Like the family is the paying customer, right? So your technology that you offer them, or perhaps the optics of some, to your point, like, you're making me download this thing. Like, what is this? That's not the perception we want. We want it to feel like a value add, something that extends the experience and makes it that much more worthwhile, and ultimately fosters collaboration between the teacher and the family. And again, the child is the benefactor of that. So that is probably why I was excited to join Family, was realizing that they put that end user experience first. To my mind, that's a much more holistic way of thinking about childcare center operational health than just continually adding more like bells and whistles for the business office, which, you're right, the director matters as well. And we need to have all those table stakes reporting features so that they can run the business. But if you're doing that at the expense of overlooking the teacher experience and the family experience, you're kind of maybe making a critical error in doing so.
It's a great point. And quite frankly, I mean, I don't know if I had to put a number on it, I would say probably it's high, 90 to 95% of the programs I work with. And I'm blessed. I get to be in early childhood programs every week across the country. I'd say 90, 95%, they don't allow any kind of technology in the classrooms if you're a teacher, right? And I've got some that even say that the Apple smartwatch, no go anymore, because it becomes a distraction, becomes too hard to, manage it. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is watching the kids and making the kids learn and having a great learning environment and all this? Or are you goofing around on your phone, or that risk of privacy? What are you doing on the phone that maybe we don't want? So I do appreciate, the apps that are out there, the platforms that are out there that are streamlined and are easy to use. And I think you're right. I feel like the centers that have access to those kind of platforms, they use them more because they know the teacher's not goofing around on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. They know they're using it for a legitimate purpose and really tying that back to the educational record, the parent communication, all that kind of great stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely. There needs to be governance. Like it's a piece of technology isn't going to be a replacement for a company policy, right? And you need good managers and leadership to set expectations of how technology should and shouldn't be used in the classroom. But it certainly, we find, is becoming the increasing expectation of the parent at home to have access. And you also don't want your teachers texting on their own phones to parents and those things not being cataloged in some repository where there's a paper trail and the director has access, and that element of security too. So, but I hear you, it's a fine line. And Family is super configurable and gives a lot of controls to the director to ensure they can set it up in the way that they feel comfortable. And some of our customers are very, very ambitious in terms of turning a lot of that power over to the teachers. And we can support that in a really controlled and safe way. And others are certainly more kind of rolled back in terms of limiting what a teacher is using technology in the classroom for.
Yeah, let me just add examples of that real quick, because I get the opportunity to go into a lot of our customers' programs and see how they're using it day to day. And it's so interesting how settings vary so widely. And as a parent myself, I really appreciated seeing that when I was going on all these tours and trying to find care for my kid. But it's been interesting to see that some directors require their staff to take at least one picture or video of each child every single day, so that every parent gets some sort of a video or photo update that's also tracked to their child development. Here's what little Andy was doing today, and here's how his pincer grasp has been improving. We see him coloring. So it's really exciting to see. And then at the same time, I've been in other programs of our clients, and the teachers don't have any access to any kind of technology. Any updates are on the child's profile is usually written down in pen and paper, and then the director will later add that to the app, or just verbally give those updates to parents when they see them at pickup and drop off. So I think it's important to respect what makes every center its own unique entity, right? Like parents all want different choices, and there should be programs that are totally screen free for even all of the adults in a program. There also should be ones where parents are like, I want to know what my child is doing every minute of every single day. I want a live stream of the classroom so I can just sit there at my work screen and have it going on in the corner. But, like everybody's looking for different things. And I like being able to provide a tool that's flexible for everybody.
Yeah, that's great functionality. And like you said, and quite frankly, too often it's one bad apple spoils the bunch, right? Because this really isn't a technology issue at this point in 2026. It's a supervision issue, quite frankly, right? And if, you've got one teacher that's constantly on their personal phone doing inappropriate things, sadly, instead of just addressing that, sometimes what we see are these vast sweeping policies that come out that kind of shut it down for everybody. And look, I get it, but I do say, as the parent who gets the emails with the photos and the videos and the picture, like, it's cool. I do like it. I mean,
right? Like, where's my update?
Well, and honestly, I'll send some of that to the grandparents, who are out of state, and they love it too. And it's just children are in some kind of childcare arrangement 36, 40 hours a week, and it's a long time to be gone from home. And I'm not quite like the father that wants like the dog cam to watch the doggy daycare kind of thing, but I know people that would like that too. But I do appreciate how you've built in that flexibility. And I assume, not knowing anything, but I would assume that over in Europe, you probably have a very different patchwork of, privacy laws and what you can do and what you can't do. So, having that functionality built right into your system does make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Andy, if I may, I want to touch on something that you just shared about, ultimately perhaps it not being a technology problem, but more of a supervisory issue. I mean, I think you're getting to the heart of something that's really complex, right? Which is like people leadership, people management, internal staff communications is hard, right? For any type of business. I would glean acutely so for a childcare center where your staff are in the classroom with the kids and they've got one eye here, but then of course they need to be mindful of myriad other things. And maybe we'll have the opportunity to get to it, but I know family also focuses a lot on staff communication and trying to ensure that there's clarity among a team so that directives are clear. Because sometimes it could just be a misunderstanding, or perhaps that teacher who is on her phone looking at Instagram, she is doing so because she's kind of checked out because she's not loving her job. So then we need to dig into like what's going on there, that the culture at the center is such that the staff aren't deeply engaged in the work with the kids. And is that something that can be addressed and that maybe technology can help with? I would say argue yes, and we have some opinions on how so, but maybe we'll get to that later.
Yeah, let's absolutely. And that kind of moves us into this whole other, realm. And what I've really appreciated as I've gotten to know your product more is really the community that you're trying to build. And Meghan, you shared a stat with me, which honestly was a little shocking. It was 70%, let me pull it up, 70% of childcare directors report feeling isolated. And talk a little bit about kind of, what you're seeing and how you're trying to bridge some of that and solve some of that problem.
Yeah, we did a survey of the field in the last year, and it was eye-opening to see how many people were saying that they felt isolated. On top of that, at the same time, 90% of people said, well, I do already have a support group. I have a spouse or a family member or a friend or even a therapist or religious leader that I talk to about hard things, but they don't get it. And that's why I'm feeling really isolated. I see this, I'm going to use my mother-in-law as an example. I hope she doesn't mind, but I see this kind of in my personal life with her because she starts talking about, what little Joey did this day and somebody's teething and this baby was crying and Emily called in late today, and I kind of see like some of the eyes glazing over when we're like sitting around the Thanksgiving table. And I'm like, tell me more. Like, I love hearing about child early ed stuff. But people who aren't in the field, they don't really get how all these things are compounding, and it's so stressful and it's hard to relate because all, you might hear is like drool and spit up and somebody was late to work. And I don't know. I think that that's just so interesting to keep in mind as we're talking to our customers and clients, is just like understanding how many things that they're balancing and how they're probably also feeling really isolated and yet don't really have anybody specific to lean on. Like directors don't feel like they shouldn't really be leaning on their staff for some of that, because some of the stress comes from their staff. Some of the challenges are coming from parents. They can't like vent to parents about the program itself. And so it's just a really hard space to be in. I think one of the things that I really appreciate about family is that not only are there a lot of these elements of community building within the product itself, but we're also striving to build more of this network of community for other providers to come together. So we have a community group called The Village that hundreds of thousands, I don't know the exact number, don't quote me on that, tens of thousands of educators, participate in. It's a very active online forum. We've had webinars where people can come and just share challenges that they've had with burnout or little tips to cope with that. And we've hosted some in-person events in the DC area where our US office is located. And whether you are a family user or not, you are welcome to come. It is totally free. We just want to provide a space and a dinner where you can come and chat with people who get it and who understand how really hard it is to be balancing all these different things at once.
Well, that's a great resource. I mean, it is. They always say it's lonely at the top, but you're right. I mean, you can't just, if you're having a bad day, you can't really vent to the parent. They don't want to hear it.
I would be concerned if my child's childcare directors are venting to me.
Meghan, now that I know your music background, I'm inclined to share this analogy that occurred to me the other day. I've not shared it with Meghan yet, Andy, so this is real-time reaction. Again, creative writing English major. I like to think in a lot of analogies and metaphors. And myself, a musician in a past life, I was thinking about how the work of early childhood education operators, really all of them, the owner, the director, the teacher in the classroom, I feel like from the perception of the audience, the family, it's a lot like it's the bass player in the band. It's like, it often doesn't get paid a lot of attention to unless they mess up. And then like everyone notices it and has something to say about it, which is a shame. Love to all you bass players out there. You're what make people dance at the show. But like oftentimes it's just like you're hearing the singer, you're hearing the guitar, you're hearing the drums, you're not listening to the bass player. And I think being on the receiving end of that, to not necessarily feel appreciated for the important work you're doing each day, it takes a toll on you, right? So I think, all center owners, operators out there can be thinking about like, what ways are we celebrating our staff? What ways are we giving our parents a real audience to the work we're doing each day? Are we communicating that effectively so it can be celebrated and like the love we're pouring into these kids can be reciprocated back to us? So yeah, that was my bass player metaphor.
I think that's a great analogy. I love that. And I would also go so far to say that we collectively, everybody who works in this field, not only owners and directors, but also us, like the tech providers, the podcasters, I think we have a job that we should explain what it does, what it takes to run a childcare program. I got in a semi-fight at the pool this summer with somebody who was venting about the cost of care and how expensive it is and how their director must just be pocketing so much money. And I was like, whoa, hold on. Let me just tell you about ratios and why childcare is absolutely so expensive to run, because you don't want to have 14 infants in a room with one adult, and that one adult costs money, and you want to pay them appropriately because they are the ones forming your little child's brain that's just firing so many synapses all at once and doing the most growth in those first 5 years of life. I think that we collectively should be the PR team for the childcare industry, because there's so many misconceptions around why it's expensive, what it takes to run a safe and high quality care, and just why it's so beneficial for kids, families, communities overall. And I will hop off my soapbox because I'm just so passionate about that.
Well, it's completely misunderstood, and I know it always gets under my skin when they say, "Oh, you work with all the babysitters," and I'm like, "Oh, my skin kind of crawls." Right?
No.
Yeah, I don't think most people would ever have a clue of the complexity of the regulatory environment and framework that the programs operate in. It is, and that's, part of the reason we're talking about software and solutions and stuff like Family does, is really, how do we spend the time on where it matters? How do we leverage technology so it makes life easier? How do we leverage it so it makes us stay organized and all of this? And Harrison, I don't know if you have any data. I'd be curious. In 2026, what do you think? How many, and again, Europe's probably a whole different ball of wax, but in the United States, are we at a majority where programs here are using some kind of a software to help with the administration and operations in our programs? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Meghan, you might have more recent data. I would guess, based on just what I'm experiencing and communicating with the market, is that maybe we've recently reached a tipping point where now maybe the majority are using some type of system, that it has become the expectation and the norm, largely driven by like the consumer, right? By the parent and what they see their family friends, child center offers them. And it's now increasingly becoming the expectation, and that's only going to compound, right? But yeah, I'd say there's still probably almost half that are still pen and paper that have yet to make a switch. But I do think we've maybe recently reached some type of tipping point. I don't know if you've seen any hard data, Meghan.
I don't have any hard data, but it probably varies pretty widely depending on the size of the program. I imagine some family childcare providers, in-home providers, maybe aren't leveraging the software because it's just not as needed for them day to day. Whereas definitely more of the big franchises probably all have their own custom in-house software.
Yeah. The nice thing about this space, and this is true of Family, and frankly, like really all of our competitors too, is these aren't cost prohibitive platforms. I would say everyone's pretty clear-eyed about the economics of early childhood and like what makes sense for these businesses. So you do see a lot of the family childcare centers that I think want to portray like, I'm a polished business. Yes, I operate out of, my finished basement, but I've made it really nice and I have an app and you can trust me. Like, I think technology becomes a really good way of signaling to your community, like, I'm serious about this. I'm not a babysitter. I'm a professional. So yeah, I would say I definitely see more and more interest. It seems to be gaining traction, by the quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, and personally, my kids, I believe we've switched platforms now 3 times.
Oh my.
Yeah. So,
And your oldest is 5?
Yeah. And the oldest is 5. We've switched platforms now 3 times. So, I mean, like, you want to do your research. You want to pick the right fit. You want to make sure it has the features and the functionality and the price point that's right for you. But if you are like stuck in a platform and it's not right for you, how does Family approach that? I'm sure that you're getting those requests from customers. Hey, I got this software. I want to switch over to your platform. Is it hard to do? Is the migration of data hard, or how long does it take to kind of change over to a different provider?
Yeah, I would say we're really acutely aware of the reluctance to change because of the perception or just guess completely grounded in reality, or maybe their experience with other platforms, that this won't necessarily be easy. And I think you highlighted something, Andy, of one of the other big reasons why people balk at switching is maybe they just did, and they're worried about the optics to their families, right? Like, oh, I just asked my parents to download a new app a year ago, and if I tell them I'm switching again, like, how's that going to make me look? Am I going to look indecisive or this, that, or the other? So a lot of it is how it's being positioned, right? Both internally to your staff, and everything needs to be progress. I've learned this, that no one is interested in taking 10 steps forward if it means 1 step back. Like, everything needs to feel like progress. You can't feel like you're giving up anything in exchange for progress in other areas is the kind of prevailing mindset, which I completely understand, which is why it's great that family has an 80-person product and engineering team that's continually developing and ensuring that we're meeting those demands of the market, which are like continually shifting. But in like an intuitive, easy to learn platform aside, we know that like human support is integral as well. So we have a whole dedicated customer success function that, to your question, handles the migration of data on your behalf, so that when you're getting in there for the first time, it already looks like your childcare center, and now we're just orienting you to it. To the best of my knowledge, we're the only childcare management system technology in the United States that offers ongoing phone support from a human being. It doesn't require you to book a call a week in advance or wait on hold for 2 hours. We're generally able to pick up the phone when you call us and have a 20-minute callback time if we miss you. So we understand it's really important to be responsive and there to help, both in a reactive way when you need us, but also like we'll do a training with your teachers. We'll hold an open house for your parents if you're concerned about telling them you're making a shift and you want to have it feel really concierge and white glove and like a celebratory thing to them. Like we want to help you achieve those optics, because we appreciate that people are going to be sensitive to switching again if they just made a switch, and that could be in the last 3 years. They might think, I need to stay the course. Like I committed, I'm not happy, but I'm going to stay the course because I made this decision and now I need to ride this out. It's like, you don't. We can ensure that it goes over well with your teachers and with your families. And part of that's the product, but a lot of it is humans actually being there to support you along the way.
Yeah, so I guess the bottom line is, look, if you're not happy, don't feel like you're stuck, right? I mean, there's solutions out there. You can jump, you can change platforms. If it doesn't have the functionality that you want or need, shop around, because I mean, there is options. We don't want to see you. It doesn't make sense just to keep throwing money away if you're not happy, right? And as you just mentioned, Harrison, honestly, as a parent, I get it. Just have a little chat with me. Hey, we're switching because A, B, or C, right? I mean, I get it. Gosh, we update apps all the time on our personal devices, don't we? So,
yeah. And at the end of the day, if when you do download Family or any new app, if you are like, oh, this is nicer, then you see it as a good thing, right? And you appreciate the decisiveness and, not just being content with the status quo. And frankly, oftentimes, one of the main reasons we have people cite their interest in switching to Family is because of critical feedback they're getting from their parents about their existing system, and that's where the pressure is coming from, is from the families or is from the teacher in the classroom. And obviously those, as I highlighted earlier, your two most integral groups, right? Your employees in the classroom with the children, your paying customer, the families at home. This experience needs to delight them, and if it doesn't, then you probably need to make a switch.
I'm curious too. Go ahead, Megan. You got other stuff there?
No, I was just going to add, I was thinking about that same survey that we did last year. And one of the other questions that we had asked about was like, how many of you are working late every day or at least one day a week? And one day a week was 90%, 90+% of directors were working at least one day late a week. And I think it was still like 75, 77% were still working late at least 3 days a week. And if that's you, and regardless of whatever platform you're on and you're feeling like I'm just drowning in all this admin work or my staff is drowning in all this paperwork, I think that it's not worth sticking with whatever solution you have, whether it's pen and paper or Family or ProCare or Brightwheel or any of these other platforms that exist out there. Like, you kind of owe it to yourself or to your staff who are spending all this time because that process isn't working for you. And it's just, I don't know. I just hate this idea of people feeling lonely, burnt out, and then also working late because their technology is not serving them well.
Yeah, that's not a good recipe there, is it? So, one of the other things that, we've been talking about too is, especially since COVID, I mean, the two big challenges that always rise to the top are basically the enrollment pressure. How do I fill all my slots? Because quite frankly, I don't know, depending on where you're at in the country, some of these young kids, they're not having kids, right? So our birth rates are down significantly in some places. So in some cases, we're not being fully enrolled. That's always been a challenge. And then the other big challenge that we've seen the last couple of years is really the staffing, the recruitment, and the retention. And I know, Harrison, you wanted to chat a little bit about, communication and keeping staff informed and trying to keep everybody happy and engaged in their job. How are you seeing the leverage of technology kind of being helpful in some of these challenges that we're facing?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes back to what I touched on earlier, which is if you prioritize the experience of your staff and of your families, those are two of the best holistic things you can do to address staff attraction and staff retention and staff engagement, as well as turning your families not just into people that drop their kids off and pick them up because they need childcare, but actually become real big promoters of your center and tell all their family and friends about it and become your best marketing channel. Word of mouth, there's none better than that, right? So I think you can, and these things are important, don't get me wrong, like spend money on having a great website and, sponsor ads, and target your local community. And these things are great, but if you're not addressing, the actual experience of your current enrolled families and your current employees, you're going to have a leaky bucket. You're going to have, families that are leaving for another center because they can save a few bucks here or there. And like, that's the thing they care most about. Or one is, half a mile closer to their house that just opened, and that's the thing they care about. Like, what are you doing at your center that's going to make someone willing to drive the extra half mile to have their kid go to yours or spend the extra $100 a month? And that to my mind is prioritizing that end user experience, which is what families focused on doing. And communication is an integral part of that. We're the only app out there that has live in-app translations to over 140 different languages. Part of that's our being born out of Europe, where there's so many different languages spoken, of course, in the US. We're headquartered in the Washington, D.C. metro area, where it's also incredibly diverse. And, I know at my daughter's childcare center, a lot of the staff in the classroom speak English as a second language. And a lot of the parents there picking up the kids, when I go to pick up my daughter, they speak a different language other than English at home. And there's so much opportunity for communication breakdown to cause problems internally with staff and the day-to-day operations of running a center. And then between the staff and the families at home, that was one of the pieces of low-hanging fruit we saw of let's just not let language barriers be an obstacle to achieving great outcomes, within the center walls and between the staff and the families at home and communicating about the children. We think communication is integral. I've worked in communication technology before, so that's like a separate conversation we could have, because I'm just big on how that similarly is kind of foundational to whether something will or won't work. Is the communication clear and is it effective? So I think family is a tool that helps with that. And I think that helps with empowering your staff, having them feel delighted to come to work each day in what is a really hard job. And let's be honest, also generally not the highest paying job. So what are we doing to prioritize and make that experience as great as possible for the teachers in the classroom? And what are we doing to make it a great experience for your paying customer, to Meghan's point, who may feel like they're paying a premium for something and unfortunately sometimes wondering what it is exactly they're getting for it. Is that being made clear to the parent, and how can technology help the center make that clear to the parent?
Well, I always look at things kind of from the emergency lens, right? And I think, gosh, if an emergency, a disaster, something bad were to happen, how do I lean on this technology to help me out as a center director owner, but also as a parent? And I got to say, the hat's off for the translation. You don't see that in very many platforms. And when communication matters and it's critical, you don't have time to go through Chat GPT and Google Translate and try to translate it into 7 different languages. So the fact you have that built in, that's really a phenomenal feature, and again, one you don't see all over the place. So kudos to you guys on doing that. Yeah,
I taught English as a foreign language in a past life as well. It was kind of in the middle of my other past life where I was a musician, because I was drawn to this idea of what if language barriers weren't a thing? What if we could all just talk to each other? And it's still this kind of fantasy I have in my mind of like, what would the world be like? So I do think it's pretty cool that obviously in a country where so many different languages are spoken, and, I don't want to get political, but I'll just say, like, I think we should celebrate diversity. I think it's a great thing. How can we help make that work in early childhood?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah, hats off. I mean, that's great. And it's, and it's not political at all. It's reality. I mean,
I believe so, but I know,
I don't. Let's meet people where they're at. Let's make everybody feel welcome. Let's have a great, caring, nurturing environment. As you said, a million synapses a second, Meghan. It's crazy. Your brain's never going to be so darn active, right? So I'm curious with, you kind of talked a little bit about, translation and AI and all this crazy stuff. What does the future kind of look like? Not giving away any big family secrets here, but what are you guys thinking about in 2026 and beyond? What's the new great best thing? Where are apps going? What's the field going to look for next? What do you guys think?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Robots replacing everyone. Just
no, not in early childhood.
No, just kidding. Meghan, please, I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, I'm happy to do share a family secret, and that is just like one exciting thing that I'm looking forward. I know that Harrison's doing this wow reaction, but we are going to be launching a CACFP meal reporting functionality to the app, because I know that that's also another area in which directors are spending a lot of their time, because they have to, if they're participating in a federal meal program, you have to submit some documentation and track all these things, and that can be complicated. So that's coming very soon, and you heard it here first, because I don't think that we've shared that anywhere else yet. So breaking news on the Early Childhood Chats podcast. But I would say beyond that, I don't know, I'm looking forward to a lot more opportunities to, I spoke about this, like bring people together and learn from directors and educators alike to build something that really works for everybody. I think that's one of the biggest pieces of family, is that we just believe that no software is going to be perfect for an individual program. So we try to make it as flexible as possible. And there's still so much more we could be doing. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to going to more conferences, talking to more people, and using that feedback to inform our platform.
Andy, I'll say to your specific question about AI, we're a founder and product leader led company. So our CEO and co-founder is the original coder of the platform. So Anders, I love you. He's a big nerd, a wonderful big nerd. A super smart guy, which I love. And I love working for a company that's led by a product guy, right? Because he's of the mind that the product will determine whether we win or fail. Like, it needs to be great. People need to love it. And it needs to be intuitive. And we're going to provide human support to like ensure people feel supported, but they can't be like patching something that's leaky, right? The product needs to be bulletproof and just perfect. So we're continually optimizing in that respect. And obviously, given that he is a product guy, he's obviously very interested in AI, and it's becoming increasingly just like table stakes that software companies are looking for ways to incorporate it into their technology that's relevant to their customers. And we already do in several ways. Some of it is the translation. Some of it is our writing assistance inside the app to help your messaging, be more polite or fix the grammar or more polished. We do some cool stuff with observations and assessments, where because you're now logging those things digitally, if you want to create activities for your classroom based on those observations of where you see the children thriving versus having gaps, it can look at the classroom and understand those individuals and recommend activities for your classroom based on those observations you've logged on the children, which is really cool. And then the next direction we're going, without getting too specific, because again, I don't want to get my hand slapped here, is I would say AI that is more predictive. So instead of you're having to prompt it, AI that's coming to you already having made observations, essentially acting as an assistant. So I'm not going to get into the particulars of what that will actually look like in the technology. It's something we're actively working on right now, but we're really excited about it.
No, that's super cool. Yeah, we just had really smart people from MIT and Day of AI on the podcast, and just, really that fine line. Like, look, we don't want to get replaced by AI, but we do. It's here. We want to figure out how we can enhance with AI, and And certainly, diving into some of the data and all that makes a heck of a lot of sense. And if you can get it personalized and that's fantastic. So Meghan, I'm curious, if I'm an owner, if I'm a director, I'm looking at all these different platforms. Can you give me kind of the top, 3-5 things? Like, what are the questions I need to ask? What are the features I need to kind of look out for? Like, what are some of the things that I just need to be aware of if I'm kind of considering the different platforms that are out there?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, you need to ask yourself what's currently not working for you. What are the workflows that you're trying to fix? Where are the processes breaking down, or where does communication break down within your platform? And then find a solution that can maybe better support that. And then if you're making calls or talking to sales teams at some of these software solutions that are out there, ask them to show you, hey, what does it look like to do an incident or a child accident report in your platform? Can you show me exactly what that looks like? If that's been a problem for you, ask them to be very specific, because I think sometimes you go into these demos. I've taken hundreds of demos in my life and kind of just sat there with my eyes glazed over. And I'm like, okay, you've talked at me for so long and I don't really get how this is going to solve my specific thing. And so just don't feel afraid to ask very specific questions so that you understand what it would look like in your program. Harrison, I'm sure, I know you talk to hundreds of people all the time, so I bet you probably have more to add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, this is something the team's been talking about a lot lately, and I say this to people who I'm demoing family for. At the end of the day, a lot of these products are ultimately like running towards a similar North Star, because we all serve the same clientele, and childcare centers have a certain set of needs, right? And these technologies have to do those things. In some instances, family is the first to market with a feature. Probably within half a year, like the other ones are going to have it, right? And then in some instances, one of our competitors is first to market, and then within 6 months, family's going to have it. So like the features piece is kind of this ongoing race. I think design philosophy matters. So I'd say there's like two main categories of these systems. There's the ones that are kind of like text and list-based platforms that are very like menus and text heavy, that people are accustomed to. Then there are ones like family and others that are more like playful and use icons and images. I would say like trying to create something that feels like joyful and like early childhood. And some people prefer one over the other. We're in the camp that says like create something joyful and playful because you want to delight your end users. And that isn't just like a nice to have, it's actually kind of a business imperative to our view. So just figure out like what resonates with you from a design principle standpoint, because there are kind of different schools of thought there. And then, yeah, what will the support look like? Will I have help when I need it? Again, not to take anything away from the product, but like we're all racing each other in terms of developing features. Who's going to help me if I have a problem? Do I have someone I can pick up the phone and call? What's the SLA? Like how quickly will I get support? What's your historical uptime? What are your data security standards? How well do you play with other technologies I might want to use in my tech stack? Are you going to lock me into some crazy contract? Are you going to apply sneaky fees when I use the billing side of your platform that you're not telling me about right now on this first call? Like really get into the particulars of what will this really cost me to use it, and what kind of support will I have when I need it? I would say those are the questions you want to ask.
Well, that's super. Yeah, I love the idea. Like, come with some scenarios. Like you said, if A happens, how do I leverage the platform to do it? And certainly, I would think everybody's offering demos nowadays and downloadable apps with dummy data or whatever have you, right? So that's probably something you want to look out for and ask for as well. If you want to find out more about family, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, check us out at our website. We're famly.co. That's family without an I, because there's no I in family. Family.co. And you can also visit us on our socials. We are at FAMLYHQ on Instagram and TikTok. So you'll find us there if you just want to get a little bit more of a sense of who we are at Family. And since we are on a podcast right now, I'll shout out our podcast, the Tiny Chair Podcast, which you can catch on Spotify and on YouTube.
I love it. I don't like sitting in the tiny chairs, but that's a good.
No, but you know what's wild is that my coworkers who do that podcast, they are physically sitting in the tiny chairs that you're picturing, those big plastic 1 foot high off the ground. And every time they finish an episode, it's like they're like standing up at the end. Like, so kudos to them.
Kudos to them. Yes, you won't see that over here on this channel, but kudos to them.
This is a much more comfortable.
Yeah, that looks like a nice adult-sized chair you have there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Yeah, very comfy. Harrison, any music recommendations as we wrap things up here? Any songs? What's on your Spotify playlist nowadays? Anything good?
Oh man, what am I listening to these days? All right, give me just 1 second. I Shazammed something the other day. I like all kinds of music, and as a musician, I really enjoy listening to music that is kind of outside the realm of something I would know how to make myself. And I'm like, rock and roll kind of guy.
Okay.
Okay, recently watched the series Pluribus.
Yes.
That was really
That was
really
good.
interesting to look on. I think it was a commentary on AI, maybe in an indirect way. But
Okay.
there was a song on that show by a group called Hermanos Gutierrez called Esperanza. It was in a scene in I want to say second to last episode, and very moving. Esperanza by Hermanos Gutierrez. It's a nice guitar piece. And really, really cool stuff. Check that one out.
No.
Be good for a childcare center. Very soothing. Maybe good for like preparing the kids for nap time.
All right. Mindful moment kind of stuff. I like that. Maggie, you got any music recommendations?
I've been still listening to Bad Bunny on repeat since the Super Bowl, so that's my go-to.
All right. Good. I found a new group actually we've been talking about the UK or the Europe rather, a new group called Flavor Trip. And they're Flavor Trip with it's a European spelling. So flavor's got the U, FLAVU. What is it? OUR. There it is. Flavor.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good stuff. Husband and wife, they're doing some kind of remixes, kind of some chill, little EDM vibe. It's kind of cool. And they make dinner while they're doing it, which is kind of fun to watch on YouTube.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. They were in Luxembourg last time I saw them. So good stuff if you're looking for some nice chill background music. Well, this has been fun, guys. Thank you so much for being on. I enjoy hearing more and figuring out, what does this technology look like? How can we leverage it? How does it help us solve some of our problems? What are the different, features out there that we should be thinking out for when we're shopping these different products around? I'll give you guys the last word. Anything you'd like to say as we sign off today?
I'm just so excited to have gotten the opportunity to come on board, and it's good to see you again since we have such a nice history going back to the old days, if you will. So it's been great. Thanks for having us on board today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much. And of course, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be having lots more stuff. We'll be heading over to Puerto Rico here shortly for the Head Start East Conference. We'll be doing some podcasts from there, and then over to Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out to, I'll see you in Memphis, hopefully, huh?
Oh, yes, I'm presenting. I will see you there.
All right. I'll be there with our friends at NCCA and ECPA, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, you got it.
And then, gosh, where are we after that? Over to Hampton Roads for the Virginia AC Conference. So a lot of good stuff coming up. So stay tuned.
We'll be there too. We'll see you around.
Oh, man, we just need to get an RV. We'll just road trip, I guess. So look for a lot of good content for that and a lot more stuff coming up, too. We're trying to get the governor of New Mexico to come on and talk about their free childcare initiative that they're doing. So I've got a great contact there. We've been in touch, so stay tuned for that. I think we'll be able to bring that to you here soon. But in any event, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will catch you on the next episode here of the Early Childhood Chats podcast. Bye, everybody.